people of the internet? My name is Cassandra. Welcome back to my channel. If you click this video, then you know what it's about. Today I thought we would talk about depression. Depression is a mental illness that affects around 264 million people worldwide every year, and it's something that I have struggled with my entire life. I remember kind of understanding what depression was for the first time around the time I was 9 or 10. I knew for a very long time that I had some sort of depression because it was something that has basically plagued my life for the entirety of it. But when I went to get myself diagnosed, I was always told that I did not have clinical depression because my episodes, is what I call them, my episodes would not last long enough to warrant hospitalization, I guess. And then when I got better, I was like much better. So for a while people thought I might have bipolar disorder. I do not. I also talked to therapists and psychiatrists about that, and they said no, I don't. I do have generalized anxiety. I've had that diagnosed since I was about 5 years old, so that we all knew from a very young age, but up until recently it was unclear where the rest of the issues were coming from. But basically what happens is I will go into these episodes that last 1 to 2 weeks. Most of the time it will be like a strong 7 to 9 recurrent days where I just feel absolutely horrible. I don't feel motivated to do anything. Even the things that I enjoy doing seem too hard or not worth it. And I have no self-worth during this time. I just feel like such a failure. And yeah, it's a horrible week and a half, and it will happen every month or two. And during this time I will really have the worst symptoms. Over the other weeks of the month, I do have general symptoms of anxiety and depression, but they're not as strong and as focused as during those days. It's hard to explain. Yeah, I'm completely fine like 70% of the time, but then there's this 30% of the time where I just cannot function. But that's my personal journey with depression, and I could go into much more detail, and let me know if you'd like me to talk about that one day. There's this kind of idea that you can cure depression or cure anxiety by having medication, or by using these different tricks like meditating, or going outside, taking walks, or doing exercise. Like, there's tons of things that help, but there's this idea in mainstream culture that you can cure it. So I realized during my journey, especially while I was becoming an adult and while I was starting to understand what being independent really means, and part of it is taking stock of your emotions and knowing how to deal with them. And for lots of people that might come naturally as they grow. Their parents would teach them, and teachers would teach them, and it's something that you learn, emotional independency. But I always had a really hard time with it because of my anxiety and of my depression. I had this idea in my head, like, one day I'm gonna get better, it's all gonna go away, and I won't have to deal with any of this anymore. So I never really took the time to learn how to deal with it until I became an adult and realized now I have to learn how to deal with it. So if you have depression, or if you know someone who has depression, you probably know that depression anxiety, different mental illnesses like that. They're not curable, they're manageable. You can, learn tricks to manage them, go to therapy, talk to people, get on medication. There's plenty of things you can do to learn to manage these things, but it's always something that you're going to have to struggle with a little bit. So if you think you might have depression, if you feel really depressed or, God forbid, suicidal, go and get help. This is not the video for you. I wanted to put together this video to talk about, once you're diagnosed, once you know what's going on with you, you're in an episode, you're in a funk, and you know it's going to pass, or you know that you're going to have therapy next week to help. You know that this is not the end all be all of your emotional state, and you're out of the crisis moment. What do you do to help manage these horrible emotions? So I thought I would talk a little bit about what I do to help manage my depression and my life while I am having a depressive episode. So just a quick disclaimer, this is completely up to you. This is my personal essentials that I like to have and use. It won't be the same for everyone. Everyone experiences their illnesses and their emotions in different ways. So if this doesn't work for you, don't beat yourself up. Don't think that you're failing something. This is just some stuff that I've found that works for me, and if it can work for you, then I'd love to share it so that other people can know about these things. So the first thing I want to talk about is hygiene. When I go into a depressive episode, especially if I'm particularly stressed out and it's coupled with panic attacks and not being able to sleep or that sort of thing, I know that the first thing to go out the window for me is hygiene. It's the first thing that I just have such a hard time with, is continuing basic hygiene, brushing my teeth, washing on a regular schedule, taking care of my skin, that sort of thing. So what I found that really helps is I always keep a bottle of dry shampoo, and I keep it for these moments where I feel like I just don't have the energy or the motivation or the ability to get in the shower and really wash myself. Usually I'm able to grab a washcloth and wash myself off, but actually washing my hair is really difficult. And with hair this long, it can get really bothersome. I get knots all over my head that hurt when I try to brush it through. It just makes me feel that much worse when I'm already in a very fragile state to feel, gross. So I always keep some dry shampoo on hand, and if I do feel like I'm going into this state of not feeling able to wash, then I'll use the dry shampoo, and it helps. It helps to feel cleaner. It helps to get out of this depressing mood faster, because I don't feel completely disgusting or completely like I'm failing, because oftentimes that's what it feels like I'm failing at these very simple tasks that I feel as though, oh, well, other adults are able to just take showers, other adults are able to just cook, like, why can't I do these very normal things? And so just having something really easy, grabbing a bottle, spraying it in my hair, and brushing it through, that's easy. It takes 5 minutes. I don't even have to get out of bed. And it makes me feel a little better because at least I am keeping my body that much cleaner and that much more healthy. The second thing that I would recommend is when you shop, to always get at least a couple things that are really easy to make. And if you just kind of stock some in your pantry and don't touch them unless you really feel like you need them, then that's, fine as well. That's what I do. But I'll keep soup that you can just heat up, or noodles, ramen noodles, basically like a poor man's diet, because as I'm starting to feel like I'm not able to cook, and like I'm not able to get up and do these very simple tasks, the first thing that happens is, oh well, I don't want to cook, so I'm going to order food. And then eating all this junk food, not only does it make me bloated, which makes me feel worse, but also it's just not indicative to a healthy mind to be in a very unhealthy body. So if I have at least a few things in the pantry, I find it's easier to reorient myself towards something that I don't need to actually cook. I can just throw in the microwave. If I can just do that, I don't right away want to go to ordering food and spending all this money and eating very unhealthily. And it also will help me not buy so much food that I overeat because I'm stressed. So they're not necessarily the most healthy food out there, but they're definitely healthier than the alternative, which is McDonald's or like KFC or whatever. The third thing I want to talk about that's really helped me and has helped a few other people in my life is soda. So soda is something that I never drink, but for some reason when I'm in a really depressive mood, that's something I gravitate towards is soda. I guess because I want to eat junk, but soda's kind of a cheap junk. You can get it for like $1, and I really like quenches something inside of me to drink something that is carbonated and is sweet. So for that reason, I started buying a lot of sparkling water. Sparkling water is really helpful to me because it's something that I can replace soda with that's close enough to soda to still quench that thirst for it. And it's much healthier, of course, because it's just water. And a lot of times doesn't even have sugar in it, because I do enjoy like really subtle tastes as well. Sometimes I'll just drink sparkling water with no flavoring at all. So I don't know. At first it was kind of hard, but now I just don't even go for the soda anymore. I go straight to sparkling water, and I will just drink that like in my regular life all the time. So now it's not so much a tip or trick for me because I will always have some on hand. But if you are someone who finds yourself gravitating towards soda, especially when you're stressed, try to slowly replace, like, okay, I'll have 1 can of soda and 1 can of sparkling water instead of 2 cans of soda. I found that really helps, especially because when you're stressed and you're drinking so much sugar, it's not helping. At least with the sparkling water, you're not, loading up on all this like caffeine, and that'll make you even more stressed. So that's something that can be really helpful, and it's something that I've found is really helpful in several different areas of my life. It's helped me reduce my caffeine. It's helped me to be healthier. It's helped me to lose some weight. Like it's just something that's really been all around kind of a blessing. Another thing I found helpful is to have a book on hand that I have read like a million times. When I'm really depressed, I don't feel like starting a new book, or starting a new project, starting a new TV show. But to have a book that I've read over and over again, that I really know that I enjoy and that I love, is really helpful to me because I am a person who watches a lot of TV. So when I am depressed, it just triples, and I just don't want to do anything except watch TV. and I will get the worst headaches from, you know, watching TV all day and doing nothing but that. So I found that having a book that I've read many times and that I know I like, by my bed or something like that is really helpful, because I can read it before bed and I don't have to be completely committed to, like, you know, really getting into the story. I already know the story. I can just read, you know, and kind of be in my own world, half reading, half thinking about something else, but I still know what's happening in the book, and it helps take my mind off of the things that stress me out without staring at a screen for 12 hours a day. So I found that really helpful as well. And if, you know, you are someone who really enjoys reading like me, I find that sometimes just reading something that I've read a lot helps me to get out of this depressive state, because it starts giving me inspiration to do other things. You know, reading is something that's really creative to me, because I have to imagine what's happening in my mind, unlike television or YouTube videos where I'm just watching and everything is already laid out in front of me and I don't have to do any of the work. In a book, you are the one who has to imagine it in your head, and so imagining things in my head is like the basics of creativity, and it can sometimes kickstart my creativity back up to feel more motivated to do other things and do other projects. This last thing I want to talk about is not really a tip, it's just like an essential, and I think this one might be the only one that actually applies to everybody. But I think that everyone should have someone to talk to about their depression, and I understand that that's easier said than done, but what I mean is, if you're someone who's private about your life, private about your emotions, you know, find at least one person to talk to. It could be a friend or a therapist. Like, just find at least one person to talk to who knows that you go through this, because it can feel really isolating when you're going through the motions around people, but they have no idea what's going on inside, and it feels like you're putting on an act for everyone. It feels like maybe it's not even real, if that makes sense. Like, it's hard to feel like your emotions matter and mean something and are real when no one knows about them. You're not talking about them to anyone at all, and they have no idea that they're there. It's like it's all inside your head, but it's not ever being verbalized. It's really difficult, for me anyway, to believe myself a lot of the time when I'm having bad emotions. So sometimes just saying them out loud is kind of a relief. Like, oh yeah, it's real, it is happening, I am going through this horrible thing, and it's okay that I feel this way. So I just think, even if, you know, you prefer to keep things like private and not talk about these types of things, just find at least one person to talk to about it, because it will make you feel so much less alone, just to be able to have someone who knows that you're going through this. You know, whether or not they're even able to help. You know, if you don't feel like you're capable, or maybe you don't have the money to get a therapist, just choosing one person who you really trust and talking to them about it can be the difference between going through it for a week and going through it for a month, you know? Just to have someone who knows you're going through this, and you can talk to about it, and you can be like, hey, I had a really bad day today, and there doesn't have to be more said, because you don't have to hide or explain all these things, because they know you're going through it. So those are my tips and tricks. I just wanted to share them with you a little bit. I don't know if this will help anyone. If not, at least you will understand a little bit more about me and how I think about my depression. if you've decided to try any of these things, please let me know. I'd love to hear from you, and comment down below your own tips and tricks for when you're going through a rough time. It doesn't have to be depression. It can be any sort of hard time. What do you do to help get through it? And hopefully we can all talk about our tips together. I hope you have a great day and a great week, and I'll see you next time. Bye!